dive deep into like what that looks like.
What is it that each of the companies do, and how do they play together?
Yeah. So there's 3 pillars that we consult around that help people grow. One is around sales, and you can just, talk about marketing in there as well. The second is team, like how to build your team, how to manage your team, how to attract a great team. And the last one is systems and processes and workflow and optimizing for that. And, like you can check out software in there as well. So sales, team, systems, those are the main pillars. We have other things we obviously touch upon, AI and, creator strategy and, like you can imagine all the different topics in business, period.
Brendan, what's going on, man?
What's good, Gabe?
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here in my own apartment with you.
Got a little co-host today that's going to be hanging out. He's going to be asking some tough questions right here.
This right here is Theo. He's actually the star of the show. What do you want to say to him?
Let's go. Awesome. Well, man, we got a lot of things to cover. Agency stuff, masterminds, buying and selling, investing in multiple businesses. And yeah, we'd love to get started just to share some context on what you're working on right now. And then from there, we'd love to jump into your background and then diving into investing and scaling some of the companies that you are working with right now.
Right on. Let's do it.
Yeah. So what is you got 7 companies, you have a primary business. What's the core focus that you have right now? What's the main business?
Yeah. So I scaled Aerial Canvas, which is a real estate media company, to $7 million a year. I joined when it was just my business partner and I doing $15K a month. And we were able to build out a team, build out infrastructure, systems, processes, a sales process, a marketing funnel. And that allowed us to attract some of the top real estate agents in the San Francisco Bay Area and throughout California. And we were able to grow a team of close to 80 plus at our peak. Now we're chilling. We're doing around 4 million in revenue, 800K in profits annually, at around a 20% margin. And in the last year and a half, I chose to get into mentorship. I run a consulting company. I mentor currently around 70 agency owners. I have 4 other consultants that I work alongside, actually 5 as of this last month. And we've been building other businesses, other real estate media agencies up. We've helped a lot of them double, triple their business. And alongside that, in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been building a few tangential businesses. There's a virtual staffing agency to help agencies obviously build up their team. We have a video editing service to be more of a one-click solution as opposed to having to train up and develop your own team. I've invested and helped develop a software in the last 5 years as well for the industry. We're hitting close to $1 million a year in annual recurring revenue. And that's just the beginning. There's a few other projects. Can't say too much, but one's in AI photo editing. I'm more of an advisor and mentor in that than I am a big stakeholder. But all of these businesses, they have a primary operator. So like people are like, how do you manage all that? Like you can't do it without business partners. You can't do it without other people taking care of the day-to-day. And that's what I've learned to do at a pretty high level. I feel like even with my own consultancy, I'm still sometimes in the hamster wheel. It's like, I need to get myself out of this job, right? I think as business owners, as entrepreneurs, our goal is to create the machine that builds the machine. I think that's a very beautiful quote from Elon Musk. He's trying to build the machine that builds the machine. So like, I think once you achieve that is when you actually are a true business owner, that your business is growing and building upon itself. But that's a little bit of a high level about who I am, what I'm working on, and feel free to dig deep into any of those.
Absolutely. So, and there's probably like similarities in these different businesses, but there's also like very distinct business models. So you got the agency. Is it really an agency? You call it an agency, the video production, or?
Yeah.
So it's funny. Some people say like, we're not an agency.
Well, yeah, we call it an agency. I know some people like aren't super into that, using that word. No, at the very core, we provide photography, video, 3D Matterport, drone, agents, on camera, commercials, media production for real estate and real estate agents. So we'll film all the nice houses you see on Zillow, all of the nice, video tours you see on Instagram where they go through the house and they have these cool transitions and drones flying in, agents walking and talking. We do a lot of that work. On a busy month, we'll do 800 shoots.
Is there a difference between staying like consistent with just purely saying we're going to take responsibility of all these different productions versus like, hey, we're just going to be brokers of this? Like, it meaning, can you still do some of that, or do you rather just keep everything in-house? Does that make sense? So for example, there's marketplace out there that you can just become like the Uber for video type of thing. That's a whole different thing for what you guys do, right?
Yeah. So in many ways, we are like, I feel like even before Uber existed, a taxi service was Uber. It just didn't have the app, it didn't have the tech, it didn't have the full scale of Uber. But you go to any city, there's probably a taxi company with 100 taxi drivers, right? So in many ways, it acts and functions like Uber, but just not at the same tech, at the same level. I think we're a tech-enabled service company, so a lot of the employees we don't contract. We don't say, hey, you're a contractor, we only hire you when we need you. We have employees that we have 401k, health benefits, pay time off, like three weeks of vacation annually, and on top of all these other benefits like sick time, and there's car perks. Even they get to pretty much drive for free, like they don't have to pay for the car payment when oftentimes when they sign up to work with us. So we cover a lot of the basics and then some. But to answer your question, like, we're not a marketplace, we're not national. That's not the model we've gone with. We're a highly trained, highly specialized real estate media listing solution for agents trying to go to market and get next day turnaround and really fast revisions and 7-star experience. And everyone's trained in-house. Our project management team is in-house. And it's something that, I think you'll see the quality, right? Like, if you go with an Uber-like solution, which there are out there locally in our market, nationally, the quality isn't going to be as good. In many ways, we're selling the Tesla. Other people are selling the Hyundais and the Toyotas. We're selling the Audis and the BMWs, the equivalent of our industry, where there is that concierge feel. Anyone that's successful in real estate, the top 20% of agents are actually doing 80% of the volume, and those are the ones we serve. They want that white glove service. They want an extension of their team. They don't want to call just Uber. They want to call, hey, this is my team's going to come in and take all this content, help us market this property to its potential, and that's our value add in positioning.
High quality then. High quality.
High quality it is.
Yes, indeed. So when you are going through the evolution, you guys grew revenue, hire a ton of people, and now you're staying in efficiency, sustainability, and keeping kind of really good margins and having a healthy business. Then you're launching and investing in this other business. What's your thought process on like, hey, I'm going to go do this other thing, either invest time or money in the next project?
At some point, like every vehicle of business and life and investment, it has a destination it can take you. Like if you're trying to go to space, you're going to take a car to get to the space station, right? But to get to the moon, you got to build a spaceship. And I believe that the spaceship I was building first, the one that scaled to $7 million, that was kind of like where it plateaued, and I could have gone down further, but I just felt like that was poor use of my leverage and expertise. Why? I was capital constrained, I was time constrained, and I was expertise and equity constraint. I have a business partner with X amount of equity. He's not trying to give it up. I don't own all the shares. I can't raise a ton of money without his approval. I can't move as quick into new opportunities. I have to get approval. There was a lot of red tape that we actually got rid of for a while, and a lot of corporate like fat, or, for lack of a better word, just like a lot of people with entitlement wanting to get paid more to do less. And I feel like when you get to that place where you become like the Oracle, the Intel of the industry, the GM, the GE, the General Electric. You have like a lot of later career team members and stakeholders that they want to take from the business and extract the wealth and make it more of a cash cow. And I'm more passionate about startups. I'm more passionate about fast pace, fast iterations, innovation, willing to bend the rules, willing to try new things. And that's the first reason why I pivoted, out of the day-to-day of aerial canvas. I also found that it's a lot more enjoyable to work with business partners and other entrepreneurs than it is to work with employees. I have some employees I love to death and they respect me, I respect them. But there's also a lot of employees there, just for a paycheck, a means to an end. They're not all in. And I can't hate them for that because they don't have the same equity. They didn't sign up to be a business partner. But I've found that I've made the most progress and I've seen the most joy from helping other entrepreneurs because the sense of gratitude and appreciation and excitement, I have gotten that from employees, but that's maybe 3 out of every 10. And those are hard to find even still. With entrepreneurs, the ones that align into my accelerator, into my coaching program, into getting mentorship from me, usually it's a 7, 8 out of 10 every time. Like 7 or 8 out of 10 people are like stoked about growing their business, stoked about, what's next, and super, super appreciative when I've helped them double their business. And I think, it's the same. There's definitely employees I have that have helped double their income, triple their income since they've started working with me. But when it's theirs and you're helping build something that's theirs and you're in more of the servant mentality, you're here to serve, I think there's nothing that beats that. So that's why I chose to pivot into more mentorship. And it's also scale. I think I was capital constrained, like I could raise money, I could borrow money, I could potentially put in more equity or more cash. But scaling aerial canvas at that stage was linear. I would go from maybe, I went from 1.7 to 5 million to 7 million. Then the market shifted, went down to 5.7 million. And yeah, if I crushed it, I might be able to go. Right now we're at 4 because, the market's really, really pulled back. We're talking about 50% of the volume of listings, which is how we get our business, since compared to like 2021 where we hit our peak. So, relative, we're still doing well because if it's half of where it was in 2021, we're technically at the run rate of like doing the same, having the same market share of like us doing 8 million a year, right? If, technically it's half as many projects. But I think tying it full circle, it's leverage, right? Like when I do mentorship, I got now, instead of, let's just say I have 50 team members, I got 5 innovators, managers, leaders, and I got, 45 role players. When I'm mentoring 70 agencies, I got 70 innovators, 70 business owners, 70 entrepreneurs, and their 350 team members. So the impact I'm able to make is far greater. And even though the value I extract from each opportunity is less than me owning, the business and being able to build equity, the impact is more. The impact is far greater, and I can take a smaller percentage, and I'm still also making more in the process because I'm able to leverage my skills, my knowledge, my experience, and offer that at a very, very competitive rate and do it at scale with group trainings, virtual assets, digital assets, right? Digital, community. So I think for me, it's like trying to work smarter and also trying to see how I can impact more people faster.
So going back to the investing in skills, you're investing in people, you're investing in this entrepreneur. I think one of the natural progressions of people in our industry, either agency or online entrepreneurs, is they go achieve certain milestones and they can go mentor. That's phenomenal. It checks the boxes, like say fulfillment, impact, excitement, all that. You feel like good energy out of giving back to these people. What is what are some of the things that you don't like about either mentorship or coaching? Because otherwise it's like, this sounds phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
But there's probably some things that you don't
Yeah, I
enjoy.
mean, I love everything about it. I think some people get stuck into mentoring the same people for the rest of their lives. Like, I'm looking to mentor people that are at higher levels consistently and constantly. And I'm a forever student. I invested this year alone at least $50,000 into personal mentorship and development, whether it was sales coaching, marketing, mastery. I am very much invested in my own development. And that's like in addition to what I already spend on my team members and like people I bring onto my team. So I think to answer your question, what do I not like about it? I don't like having to teach the same, person, the same thing year after year after year. And when I say same person, I don't mean like the exact same person, but the same persona, the same client profile. I'm constantly upping my consulting rates for the people that want to coach with me at the highest level. And I'm bringing in coaches and consultants that were even my previous students to coach the junior entry level like mastermind members that want to learn. But I've already taught it 10 times over. There's 55 recordings of me coaching the same challenge, the same problem, how to overcome that. And yes, I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves, especially if my current mentors and consultants that work under me aren't able to do it at the same level. I'll come in and reinvigorate them and be like, all right, just watch me. And then I'll go boom, 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 make it happen. And they're like, all right, see how you did it? All right, next time, hopefully you got it. If not, I'm always here to serve. And so I think as long as you can figure out like, how do you unstuck yourself? How do you like unfuck yourself? Like, don't sign yourself up for Groundhog Day. If you notice Groundhog Day in your life happening again and again and again, like you're like, hey, I literally feel like I am doing the same project, working on the same client, even though it's another client, it's like, it literally feels like you're doing the same thing. And that does not bring you joy. That does not bring you excitement. And that's something you're losing passion for. Identify that, get ahead of that, bring on a team and keep growing. Like grow as a leader, your dreams need to be big enough for your team's dreams to fit within. And so if you're not growing, you're constraining the ability for your team to grow. And that's when you get a lot of attrition within your team. That's when you lose momentum and start even backpedaling on revenue and profits and stability and sustainability. And so I always build for sustainability and I always build for growth. And my perfect outcome is to build a machine that builds the machine.
Yeah. So it looks like at that stage, when you have those 4 or 5 people that you're talking about, it shifts from like maybe when you started the first business and you had like those huge margins. Now it's backwards. Like you're wanting to provide a lot of, space for them to win financially and then also to take a lot of ownership and responsibility.
Yeah.
So do you have a mindset hack in there where you think like, hey, as long as they're winning, it's almost like you flip the switch, right? Like you're now not trying to take a whole lot of the pie, but you're taking a small percentage, but they're driving the majority of the value and time and energy on this client.
Yeah, exactly. At some point, like it's all about that point of leverage. For me, like your goal is to flip the value equation where it's not linear, where you're like, hey, like, and that's where, education, content, like being able to use capital in a smart way gets you outsized returns. Like my portfolio doubled when I first got it started and, it'd go from 50K to 100K. Now I have a 7-figure portfolio. I'm making the 50K and on a 5%, bump, on whether it's the market. And then with the things I control now, anything that I do is designed to be a flywheel, designed to feed into itself, designed to build momentum. And I have equity in almost every company that I help build, whether it's 3% or 50% or even 80% at some companies. And that's relative to the risk I took, the capital I injected, the expertise and the deal flow that I bring. And at some point, it's not about hard work. It's just about leverage, right? I have 100 conversations every month. I have 7 products. I have 7 solutions that no matter who I talk to, there's a solution that fits. So it now becomes a flywheel. And, I think some entrepreneurs might argue that, hey, Brendan, it doesn't sound like you're focused. No, I'm 100% focused on real estate, media, consulting agency owners in our space right now. That's everything I'm building. But occasionally when I'm helping them build their business, I got to recommend something, whether it's the iPhone or Tonimo or Market U or Outsource Blood, whether it's on one of my solutions or the best solution out there, I want to make a recommendation. And why wouldn't I capitalize in that value creation, right?
So in order to make that happen, you're saying there's partners in place, you have equity positions.
Every business has a director, a full-time operator, a full-time staff, multiple staff members minimum. Some teams I work alongside teams of 12, 24, 36 people.
Yeah. And then what's the typical structure, like either partnership that you think it's working better, regardless if you have it right now in place, or have you seen in the past where like either operating agreements, or are there any guidelines for these partnerships to thrive?
I think paperwork is nice and all. And even with the people that you trust the most, your best friends, like you can do a handshake. Having an operating agreement is super important. And I would say almost a requirement. If you don't know how to write one, ChatGPT is a good start. Like you can get a decent one from that at this stage. Fuck, ChatGPT's outperform like at least half the lawyers I've worked with in my lifetime. in terms of speed, accuracy, actually understanding and catching what I'm saying. But most importantly, it's values. If you partner up with someone who shares the same values, honesty, integrity, work ethic, communication, you're always going to be ahead. You're always trying to figure out something that's going to be fair. And it's up to you to qualify, if they're overweight on their sense of equity and fairness, because for everyone it's different, right? So like some people think that, I'm working a lot. Like I've had employee number 25 come in. He rose the ranks pretty quick, became director of operations, was about to get put on an equity plan, 5% equity and 10% profit share. You tell me if that's pretty generous for employee number 25, right? Where it's already de-risked, right? And he's getting a very generous 6-figure salary. He thought he should be entitled to 10, if not 20% equity. And then he tried to throw a coup d'etat against my business, against me. So he lost his job the next day. He riled up all the managers, told them to get in a room and give me feedback on what I was doing wrong, and no constructive feedback, just 2 hours of negative feedback while I was on my way out to work on the consulting business. He decided that was a good move after I was about to give him the keys to the castle. And he's like, if you want to show up to the office, you need to let us know because we don't want you to be disruptive to the company. I was like, all right, there's a lot better way you guys could have gone about this. Just looked around the room. I saw who was the focal point, who was the main serpent head I needed to cut off, for the other serpents to be like, all right, we're chilling. But yeah, I probably should have fired 4 people that day. There was 4 people that definitely were toxic that I certainly did not need long term. And 2 years later, those 4 people that were in management positions left. And then there was 4 others that rose up and now manage the company and get paid very generously.
Wow. It's a crazy story that, it's never fitting in a spreadsheet. It's never gonna, like you say, maybe they share the same values, but those change at different stages. And so is there any other things that you would like to have in place in your next partnership based on some of those experiences? Because somebody can be, again, great fit, great value, great communication, but then they change their mind, they get greedy, or they lose, vision of the future. Or perhaps, like you said, if you're not going to be as invested as they are, they may be like, hey, this is not working out. I'm doing all the work. And that's a typical, especially like, even though this is not a family business, my mom went to like family businesses. It's a lot of the work versus reward.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah, I think you just have to get ahead of it. Don't be the type of person. I have a friend who one day I go to dinner with him. We're homies. I've known him for over 10 years. And he has a list of the things that he didn't like that I did for the last 2 years. I'm like, holy shit, like all these things could have been addressed on the spot, you know, like why don't you have the courage to just be straightforward and be honest? And I know, you know, people don't want to create unnecessary conflict, but it wouldn't have even been conflict. It would have been like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know that bothered you. Like, I'll try not to do it. Hey, you know, by the way, the reason why I'm late is this, like this happened. I overcommitted. I apologize. Like I could have made a lot of, you know, on the spot, you know, accommodations and not let it get to a point where he's just like, if this person doesn't, you know, come to terms with like what I'm not happy with, this giant list, that this is going to be the final straw. Like you don't, and I can say it's not just on him, you know, that friend. I've been that person myself. I worked 80 hours a week for 2 years straight. I built, in many people's eyes, 70-80% of the value and the equity of the business in terms of like, you know, front running and being a pathfinder, you know, and creating, you know, the top down, you know, opportunities. My business partner, you know, I would say he had his moments where he worked to 70-80, but his average, his default was wanting to work 40 to 50. And I got so frustrated with him, but I never took the time to renegotiate, to say, hey, if you want me to keep doing it at this level, you know, I would like to be having more upside on the equity or profit share, having a larger salary for my contributions. And I think it's up to you to fight for yourself, right? No one, it's like you probably heard the saying, no one's going to sell you better than yourself. No one's going to market you as well as you would, because, you know, they're focused on themselves. And so I think a note to all entrepreneurs out there is you got to look at yourself and look at, you know, how you're applying pressure in your, you know, situation, and a healthy pressure, right? You know, like give the value first and then give enough value that the ask is easy, is like a saying that I really enjoy, been using more. And so hopefully that makes sense. You know, I would say that the biggest lesson is like be willing to be proactive about what you're looking for and manage your expectations, right? Feel it out. You know, you've done sales negotiations, you've done partnership negotiations. You got to fish a little bit. Hey, you know, normally with deals like this, you know, normally with a position like yours, we're looking at potentially assigning, you know, 0.5% equity, 1% equity. And some engineers know 0.5% of fucking Google is a fucking amazing offer, especially as employee number 30. And others who are entitled pricks might think that, you know, holy fuck, I was thinking 10, 20%. You're going to fuck me with 1%. And then all of a sudden start trying to fuck you over, you know, constantly. And like, that's because you guys didn't talk about it. You should have fished early on. Like, are you guys in the same ballpark? Is it like someone's thinking 3 to 5 and you're thinking 2 to 3 on the equity side? Or someone's thinking that, you know, they want to make 6 figures with you within the first year, but you don't know that's only possible if they help you achieve X, Y, and Z, and you set those objectives and key results. If not, you're in a pickle, because you guys are talking 2 different languages. You're talking about 2 different value systems. And sometimes you're able to bridge the 2, you know, with education. I try to educate that one person, that director who thought he was entitled to 10% equity, if not more. I try to be like, hey, you know, look at Silicon Valley case studies. You know, if you're co-founder, you know, maybe you're at 20%, 30%, 10% even, right? If you're employee number, the first 10 employees might get 10% of the market, the cap. You know, maybe it's different for a service-based business, a small business, but hey, you're employee number 25. You're getting paid a great salary. You've been completely de-risked of the business not working out for the most part. You know, business can always fail. So I think that's all important. Like, those are the variables you need to look at. And it's like, values, do you guys have a similar reality? Have you guys set expectations proactively? Has someone expressed what they're trying to make with you and you've helped them say not no, but all right? Never tell someone no is what I like to say. Tell them how you can help them get there. I didn't tell that guy at 5% that I was going to sign that he wasn't worth 10. Actually, I did, and that was a mistake. I should have told him, I can appreciate your hunger and your eagerness to see this business as your own and really get a good piece of the pie. I want to give you 10. This is what I need to see in return. I need to see you double the business. I'll give you 10. You help me go from 7 million to 14 million. Yeah, I'll give you 10. You own 10% of a $14 million business, probably worth at least 10 million, or 10 million total. So you're probably worth $1 million. Goddamn, you could do that in 3 years. You're making another $300K a year in equity.
That's right.
So you got to figure that out. And all these things, like, they don't really teach it in the book. You find a mentor, you talk to people that have done it, and it makes it a lot easier.
All right. So yeah, that was great. We went deep on that one. And I think what'll be helpful now is just discuss a little bit more detail about the flywheel that you were talking about, the kind of different businesses, how they play along. So you got your primary mentoring and consulting business, but you got these other companies that help support that same client profile.
So you want to dive deep into like what that looks like?
What is it that each of the companies do, and how do they play together?
Yeah. So there's 3 pillars that we consult around that help people grow. One is around sales, and you can just, talk about marketing in there as well. The second is team, like how to build your team, how to manage your team, how to attract a great team. And the last one is systems and processes and workflow and optimizing for that. And, like you can check out software in there as well. So sales, team, systems, those are the main pillars. We have other things we obviously touch upon, AI and, creative strategy and, like you can imagine all the different topics in business, period. So whenever a real estate media agency owner comes into our business, what we end up offering them is a clear path. What is your constraint? Is it that they don't have enough sales? They haven't done the right marketing? Do they not have the team to support more business? Or do they not have the systems and infrastructure to allow for a team to easily scale around? And so once we identify what their needs are, we obviously support them with as many trainings and white label resources as possible. But oftentimes, a lot of these, agency owners that are in that growth phase, they don't have enough time either. And so what is the best way to get more time when you don't have enough? And it's by deploying the one other thing that you have, which is capital, right? So you're going to either use capital to buy your time back through hiring or through automations and software. And so that's where we come in, oh, okay, well, you need help building your team. You are currently going on all these shoots and taking care of all these things yourself. What if you now started taking your capital, which is just stored up energy from like the value you've created, and use that to buy yourself more time? And so that's when we help them with the virtual staffing to help them bring on an admin, a video editor, someone to help them with sales and handling their deal flow. That's when we bring in Market You, which is a post-production solution that helps with video editing and social media outreach efforts and distribution of ads and helping manage social media. That's when we bring in Tonimo, which is an industry-specific and industry-leading software that helps automate the booking experience, the project management flow, the post-production deliverables and delivery process, and invoicing and marketing assets automatically created. And then that's also when we bring in some of our additional trainings and services. If they bring on a new team member, whether they've hired it themselves or they've gone through us, we also have a done-for-you hiring service where it's just like, all right, you don't have time to hire. You can just pay Jacob. He's going to be offering a fractionalized talent acquisition service where you can't afford hiring someone like him full-time for your team. I remember my first full-time talent acquisition, manager at Aerial Canvas, I was paying like $80K a year base salary, right? So Jacob's worth, at least $6-7K a month, but you can fractionalize accessing him and getting him to help you build your agency, bring on a team member who's gonna be an A player within your business, help you build the business, help you add another $20K a month in capabilities, bandwidth, potentially upside, and have that all accessible for as little as, $2,000 a month for 3 months finance, so we make it accessible and very approachable to grow. And we've created the foundational pieces where, people don't have to second guess, is this going to work? Yeah, Jacob's freaking hired at this point over a dozen agency owners, their top team members this year, team members that have helped them double their business. And so like you asked me if it's going to work. Yeah, I mean, you want to gamble on yourself, you've never even done it, or do you want to just pay for it to be done right? And so that's another service. And then once we bring on someone, we have like what we call the PM accelerator or the sales accelerator, where we can train your team on sales, on project management, so they can do it at a high level because you don't have time to train them, right? So in many ways, we've taken the best bits of what franchising and licensing is about. We'll white label some of our SOPs and assets. We'll help people build out their websites. We'll help people build out their products and services, their pricing strategy. We'll do all of that with, at this point, 100 plus agency and cities worth of experiences. We've done it in so many different cities. We understand what's working, what's not. And that's the flywheel, right? They come in and we just find ways to serve them better with companies that we've helped build.
Fascinating. And with the opportunity that you said that you're developing this deep relationship with each of these mentees, when is the right time for you and your team to think, do we go even deeper outside of just a mastermind, like an equity position, investing in the capital? Or when is the right time in your opinion?
That's a great question, because I'm in Jeremy Haynes' mastermind right now, and he's just like, what's next? Do you have a even bigger offer? And actually I had a verbal commitment for someone who is kind of a top student and client of mine who wants to go in with a 5K offer with rev share and potentially a discussion of equity. And we have done equity deals. I think I left this out in the beginning. I invested $50,000 into Aerial Canvas to become a 50% partner out the first agency. For me to earn the right to make that ask, I actually worked for free for 3 months because my business partner couldn't afford me. He was strapped on cash, strapped on time. Like he doesn't know if he can. He was already in debt. I think he had $15K due on the credit card, and I found that out after I gave him the $50K. So it definitely helps to be in a position where you can make the investment. And then actually another business partner of mine in Seattle, it's a smaller version of Aerial Canvas, also a real estate media agency. My business partner there was a fairly successful photographer. On a good month, he shot like 20, maybe even 25, 30K worth of shoots, hustling, grinding on his own with no team, maybe like one shooter on the side that like he contracted. And, we were friends. I actually flew him out to San Diego, and we were talking, and, I explored the idea of investing in him, but he was also on his way out, it felt like, because like fast forward 6 months, he's like, bro, I've been flipping homes. I made like $200,000-$300,000 on my last 2 flips. I'm flipping 4 now. I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm like, God damn, nice, congrats. I'm thinking about just giving this business away to my brother. I don't make enough from this. And I'm like, okay, well, how about I invest $50K into your business? We use that capital to make a few key hires to stabilize the business, train up a few key employees. We go 50-50. And that was one of the better decisions he made, because fast forward 1 year, he was underwater on all 4 flips. The market, 2021, 2022, 2023. If you follow real estate, you know where the market went. And he was invested in Austin, Texas, and Miami.
Oh no.
2 of the hottest markets that cooled off really fast. And so he went from about to make $1 million a year prior to almost going completely bankrupt. We had a backup plan already in place, already built out. And this year we did almost $1 million in revenue at that business as well. And I sold out of my equity position down to 25%. To another third business partner that brought in his book of business. So we've had a lot of creative deals. We also did like a cashless merger with a smaller company in San Francisco Bay, gave them 8% equity of Aerial Canvas to absorb their book of business and some of their existing relationships and infrastructure and team. And we've also had a lot of failures. Like not all that is a success story. We've made investments and acquisitions, smaller ones, 35K acquisitions, 100K acquisitions that didn't work out as well. And I've also helped sell a few businesses this year. I think I'm at a point where as long as I present that there's that option, I'm usually already ahead of the conversation. I've had 4 agency owners consult me on selling their business. I've had 3 that I've already helped successfully in the last year. One I helped exit for $1.1 million, and definitely it's exciting to be able to collect a nice consulting fee for that. I'm not a licensed broker, so I can collect a consulting fee. I don't.
For that deal, did you ended up working with another broker, or how do you guys listed to find the buyer for that one?
Because of my industry connections, I just shopped the deal around personally, and I made the connection and let their
market.
I let their lawyers do the work. So like at some point, if I think it's in every industry, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a yacht broker, at some point you have a Rolodex of a lot of people with a lot of money that are like looking to move it around or make investments. And so that definitely helped. And then the other business I sold through biz buy sell.
Yep.
It's always confusing to me. It's like Bed Bath and Beyond. Beyond. It's like one of those ones like buy biz buy sell. It's one of those, right? Anyways, I listed on biz buy sell. Screened a lot of the inquiries, and that's been a decent channel, as a marketplace to find like people that are outside the industry that might be looking to make a pivot or acquire a media business, which is very sexy in this day and age. Media is one of the best leveraged, mediums. So why wouldn't you own?
Did you get a little tag kickers on some of the listings?
You got
no money down.
Okay. The first question I ask is, tell me about yourself as a buyer. I just want to see if you meet the profile who we're looking to like even talk to. So, when you got a good listing, you got a lot of power in the conversation. It's like if you got a shit listing and the business is actually built on sticks and it's not worth anything, then yeah, like you're gonna want to intuitively you're gonna want to sell more, right? Like, and you're gonna want to follow up more. But when you got a good listing, not gonna say I'm proud of it, but sometimes I get back to them in a week because I'm busy. It's a good opportunity. If you want to talk about it, we can still talk about it.
Makes sense. And when you're mentioning the particular deal where like a creative deal structures and all that, have you heard about like this vehicle of like phantom stock versus like getting equity on some of these companies where you're advising? Is that something you explore? Or?
Yeah. I've talked to lawyers to a good extent about phantom equity and rev share. What would you like to know?
Yeah, no, I think it's different to go. I mean, there's all these consultants out there talking about consulting for equity, right? So Roland Fraser is huge into that. And now there's like 2 or 3 other ones that are now like you can go consult and get equity in the company.
Yeah.
It sounds simple. Like you go get an agreement and now I'm going to own 10 or 20%, but there's some tax implication, there's some responsibility, some liability. There's upside, but there's also risk, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So with phantom stock, it's a little bit different. So I wanted to see if you have gone down that path yet, or you're still.
I'm not the expert, so I'm just gonna say what I know.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a misconstrued sense of what equity is about. They see the $1 billion exits and they're like, I need a piece of equity for me to want to be involved. I need to own this. Or they see, like people getting burned, like not having a piece, right? So I would say most people are mistaken though, like unless a business is clearly positioned for an exit, owning a piece of equity just complicates the taxes, it complicates the structure, it complicates the, paperwork that's needed. And oftentimes a rev share agreement that's structured well, or phantom equity where you get the upside, because most people that want equity, they just want the upside.
Yeah.
Right. If I told you, hey, you want equity in my business, I'm $200K in debt and my employees are suing me. You want equity in that business?
Oh yeah, no.
Because it could happen next day, because it's happened to me. I've been $300K, $500K in debt. I've had people sue me for $170,000, which, I didn't even hire a lawyer. I settled it for $20K myself because lawyers are bullshit oftentimes, not to say all the time. But, everyone's has their own interests at heart. So I like to say I got a little bit of I think sales skills, negotiation skills help me with that more than anything. And also knowing that the truth trumps all. When you have the stronger version of a truth because you've developed your mental fortress of like knowing what's right and wrong, and your reality is just so much stronger than someone else's, built on practicality, reason, truth, that you can oftentimes, be in a scenario where you are fighting against a lawyer who's after your money and trying to take you to court. And I have no skills in court. Trust me. Like, I'll be like, Your Honor, like, plead the fifth, Your Honor, this is my version of the truth. I'm not going to use lingo and be like, I don't even watch enough like CSI or whatever the fucking lawyer shows are to be able to actually go into detail. But once again, back to equity and phantom equity. Most people, when they're like trying to get some equity, half of them don't know what it's worth. Oftentimes, founders and seasoned entrepreneurs that have been through exits, that have negotiated equity, that, when you talk to someone like myself, I still work my butt off for 3% equity. I still will pay $150K for 4% equity in a business. You need to know, does the person that I'm talking to know the value of the equity? Am I, as someone who owns the equity, a reasonable judge of equity? Because I've had some fucking business owners hire off their own supply thinking that their business is worth $2 million. I'm like, I've seen your P&Ls. You're not worth more than $700K, my friend. Like, maybe
What about the intrinsic value?
maybe your logo is pretty and I'll get, like, some rich person will give you another $300,000 for a pretty logo. But, unless you got some, sweetheart deal because you're about to get married with their daughter, like, you're high off your own supply. And so there's all these, different like factors you have to look at when you talk about equity. It's just like, what do they actually want? When someone wants to negotiate equity with you, or phantom equity or rev share, what do they actually care about? What can you give? Because usually the reason why you give equity or the reason why you give rev share is you want them to have skin in the game. Right? You want to potentially pay them a smaller base because you want to de-risk yourself of like the present cash value, and you want to be like, all right, I'll promise you future profits. And so you have to evaluate all of those things when you get into negotiating around equity. And once you understand what someone's actually looking for, sometimes it isn't equity. They just want another 50K. You give them another 50K. And sometimes you're like, well, if I give you that 50K, will you be still as invested? So you got to figure out like who the person is, because there's some people that will still show up for work the same, whether or not they have equity. There's some people that will show up for work more, because you're paying them another 50K. And there's some people that will pay $1 million and they'll still half-ass the work, So like you got to figure out exactly who you're dealing with when you make these negotiations. And when it's about phantom equity or real equity, figure out what is it that you want. Do you want to just get paid more? Do you want to make sure that when this business sells, you lock a percentage of the upside? When this business becomes profitable, you also get, your fair share for contributing to that success. So figure out what you want, I think, is more important than like, getting too involved in the paperwork. And then once you figure out, where the business could go, if everyone's seeing, the elephant as a whole and not just be like, like, I don't know if you've heard that like fable or whatever about like people touching different parts of the elephant and be like, oh, this is that. It's like, you got to like actually take a step back and you got to see where people are coming from. You got to be like, oh yeah, you're looking at the elephant from the front. I can see where you're coming from. I'm fucking sitting behind its ass smelling its shit. So like, yeah, I'll give you, you think it's worth 7 million, I'll sell you some shares because I'm dealing with all the bullshit that you don't see yet. I'll bring you in as a partner so you can deal with some of the bullshit as well,
Yeah.
So
That's great. As we start wrapping up, and before we move on to the last segment, with this particular example, since we're already there in terms of equity and equity sharing and mentorship, let's say that somebody, just to give an example, like, again, this consulting for equity experts out there, they go take a company like one of the ones that you're mentoring right now, it's a marketing agency. They say, hey, I'll help you go from here to here with my training, with my advice, already being a client for a mastermind for 2 years. Let's say that this expert says, I'll take 10% off fountain equity. And after that, that coach or consultant is done kind of providing value because they don't necessarily need to do more work, but they agree upon that. Is there any terms for like a year or 2 years that you have seen out there that is like, oh, that makes sense because that person's going to still involve in making work hard happen versus other people that they're just looking for equity, like you say, because they have their own reasons?
Yeah, well, you got to get clear on the deliverables, right? Like when you work with any sort of team member or contractor, everyone has either a job description or a set of deliverables or KPIs they need to meet. Usually when those deals are structured, from at least what I know and have seen, it's like you get it for helping someone hit a certain objective that they don't already have, right? You're not just getting a free ride. Like, hey, let me just come in as 5% or 10% and like, like no clear deliverables, no clear objective and result you're driving. So for my deal, it's just like, put me on a retainer. We can use it as a retainer, we can draw future profits from, kind of like just like a security deposit to retain me. And I will help you achieve the result of helping you double your business. And when your business has doubled, right, then I am entitled to 10% phantom equity and 5% rev share. So it's clear where you're like, someone gets something for making a specific contribution that helps you reach a certain milestone. And yeah, there should be some exit clauses where it's just like, hey, after a year, if I'm still around and you still are in it to win it, if I'm still helping you, or maybe a year is too long, maybe at 3 months, I will be entitled to 20% of this deal, right? When I help you hit half of the goal, I'm entitled to 35% of the upside. When I help you hit the full goal, I'm entitled to the entire upside. And so, like with equity, when you assign equity, you have like a cliff period and you have vesting, like it's the same concept with these types of deals if you want to structure them well. That, or you can do a more aggressive deal if someone actually has a lot of skin in the game. If I put in $50,000, yeah, I'm going to want to make my money back and I'm going to put in the work and I'm going to ensure, you have the resources as a person, or as a company to one, be in it to win it, and we're in a win-win, hopefully upside vehicle situation together. And maybe you don't have to do the whole vesting thing because someone's bought into the business and they bought in enough where you're like, yeah, I could do, let's just say it's worth $1 million and someone spent $250,000 and they're like, I want 50%, but they like, you got to look at it, right? Do they have the track record of making 20 other businesses exit for 5x, 10x multiples? Okay, shit, you probably should bet, as the trend looks, right? Maybe do some due diligence, talk to some of their past partners, look them up on Google, do a background check on them, visit their family, know where their address is, stuff like that.
Everything.
Right? Because, I've been fucked over on deals for sure, giving people 6-figure checks and never, they hardly answer me, and I'm not even asking much. I'm checking in once every 6 months, for an update. Hey, I gave you a lot of money, like give me some decency of an update, person to person, not just a fucking email, which I'm like, have 5 questions from. Tying that full circle, you just have to know the playing field, right? You have to, the more you educate yourself around the playing field, the less people are gonna like laugh at you, and take advantage of you or pull a fast one on you. Having friends that have done it, being willing to pay for a consultant like myself to help you with the process is obviously going to, help you. If I can help you avoid one mistake, it could be, $1 million, right? So that's why you just pay for the expertise, have someone take a second look at a deal. I love paying for consultants now. I'm in the process of buying a car and I'm paying for a car consultant to help look at the reports, to help negotiate with the dealer, to help negotiate with other parties. So I think it's very just important to it's 360, right? You know, it's like external, like know who you're dealing with, know yourself and your weaknesses and maybe your shortcomings, and be willing to find people to compensate or find experts to help you fill in the gaps. And make sure that you do business with people that you share similar value systems, because I think that's the most important thing. When you do that, it doesn't really get too messy. I've had people that have exited, I've given 20% equity to, that I buy back the equity at a discount with very minimal paperwork and minimal fuss. They're like, yeah, I didn't do the work, I didn't show up as we expected. And I've been the same, you know, like I just went from 10% down to 2% because I didn't bring what I thought I was bringing. And he's like, I want to renegotiate. I'm like, all right, like we can be at 3, but I can't be at less than 3. So if you know how to navigate and you're fair and the other person's fair, I think usually, you know, if neither of you have experience, just talk to someone with experience. They'll help you, they'll guide you. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg. Usually you can get an expert. You know, lawyers are kind of expensive. I would consult with just a seasoned consultant or business owner, and you could that has done stuff that you're looking to do, and you can probably, you know, pay them $300, $400, $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour for their time, maybe $3,000 to $5,000, and save yourself a lot of headache and heartache.
Indeed. So last question about investing. So all the investments that you want to do moving forward, primarily you said they're not startups. They're not like long-term type of things, more like cash flow businesses. Is that right?
I'm always down to do a startup if the upside is there. I mean, I've been part of 3 startups this last year.
Are those venture capital type of startups, or it's more like bootstrap? Okay.
So, you know, a little bit of cash, you know, the software business got into Tiny Seed, which raised $120,000 at $1 million valuation when it first started. I've invested at $3 million valuations, $5 million valuations, $10 million valuations. I've invested on the ground floor. I've bankrolled a few startups where I'm $100K in the hole before I see any sign of, you know, profitability, or, you know, like, hey, this is going to work. This isn't going to die tomorrow if, you know, this person leaves, or I choose to stop putting money in. It's actually sustaining and cash flowing now. So, you know, the one business at one point easily was like, we were 100K deep, you know, and this year we probably hit it close to 600K in revenue, and we're starting to cash flow around like 20% margin.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. Awesome. Well, and this is more fun question to wrap up the show. It's more like, clearly there's all kind of different avenues and paths that you can take. But if you were to, you get $10 million in the smart contract, if you cannot put in the stock market, you cannot put it in crypto, you cannot put it in real estate, what would you want to, how would you want to allocate that? Either buying businesses, or investing in the ones you have, or really small businesses, not venture capital.
if I had $10 million to put into my own businesses or other like businesses to buy, like small businesses, that's a good question. I would probably that's a lot of money. First off, I didn't even know what to do with it. Like it would take me some while, but like immediately I would probably make at least like a $250,000 investment in each one of my businesses to hire key employees or to bring on consultants to help like make breakthroughs wherever the bottlenecks are, wherever the constraints are in each one of those businesses, whether it's, you know, investing in the team, investing in a better deal flow and sales process. Definitely would, you know, invest in a team, like a really rock solid sales team. I think you can't go wrong with a solid sales team. You know, I'm always building my sales team. And yeah, it would take me some while. It'd take me a little bit of time to figure out what industry I want to get into. I think something that's exciting is potentially, you know, like taking mom and pops, you know, service-based businesses, which I'm an expert in because I've scaled only service-based businesses besides like one software or a couple software businesses. Taking them and either virtualizing and helping them like adopt software and innovation and automation, and, you know, modern technology, modernizing them. I don't know if virtualizing is the right word. I'm not really in this industry. But like taking these mom and pops that are like just not taking advantage of 21st century software and technology and getting them up to speed, getting them automated, getting them with better systems, potentially outsourcing some of their staff, getting them more profitable. In an industry that might excite me. I don't know what that is. I'm virtual right now. I'm in Colombia. I would obviously buy a business in the States. There's just way better regulations, valuations, protection, all of that stuff. Than buying a business in Colombia. For all I know, it's just like I could get caught up with a drug trafficking ring and
That's right.
be on my ass the next day. So it'd definitely be in the States. It would have to be, I mean, at this stage, it just has to be something that I can actually add value in. Cause like I have invested in AI companies. I have invested in healthy food companies, but those are businesses I don't really understand. So, that's like me putting money into Polkadot. I think Gavin or whatever his name is legit. He looks cool. I like that the logo's pink. Yeah, but I don't really know much about Polkadot and if it's gonna be a good company. Or a good crypto
Hey, it was
platform.
going to the moon.
Yeah, I have a few of those, but I also know what's tried and true, and I'm at a stage in my life where it's just like I'm 90% Bitcoin. I don't need to fuck with the unproven stuff. I know that the adoption around Bitcoin, the momentum, the stakeholders, the people that are building upon it and around it are all where it's all money coming in now at this point. That's finally realizing. Even the treasury said it's digital gold. Like this is the equivalent of digital gold, right? So you're not going to invest in digital gold when it's at $2 trillion market cap and real gold is at 12 trillion. Like you're an idiot. Like we're digitizing this whole fucking planet. So, I would say trying to be as straightforward as possible. I would take my time. I would invest I got 7 businesses. I'll throw them all a bone. I'll be almost at like $2 million spent, and I'll take the 8 million and put it in a 5% interest account, 4.5 or whatever it's at right now, until I find something that's a great investment. I would probably spend $100K traveling throughout the US, looking at businesses in person. I think that's a lost skill in art, is actually like looking underneath the hood, not just looking at the P&Ls and be like, all right, fuck it, let's go. Like actually looking at the people, the team, the systems, doing the right due diligence, getting excited about the industry like I did when I joined Aero Canvas. I flew out to California. I shot the photos. I was there on site. I shook hands with the clients. I'm like, okay, I would fuck with this business.
Like in the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great, man. Any final advice, just to wrap up, final advice for either people that are planning to buy in and scale a business or sell a business, especially in the agency space?
Yeah, dude, like if you're trying to get into this, find people that are doing it, that have done it. Shortcut yourself. You're not fooling anyone with ChatGPT and articles you read on Google. Like when you learn from the source that has done it, you can speak closer to someone that's going to be respected in a negotiation, and not someone like, oh yeah, it looks like you fucking read 20 books, but yeah, I don't think you've ever done it. I can tell right away, right? You talk to someone, you start spitting off things, and they're not like talking. There's a difference between sounding like you're regurgitating Alex Hormozy versus you fucking got kicked in the balls 8 times, and but you're not like you're not disgruntled, and you're not like what do you call it? What's the word? You're not scarred, right? Like I think like the scar is a sign of you've been through war, not a sign that you're like you got your balls chopped off and you're afraid to love again or to do business or to try new things.
Outstanding, dude. Like, thank you for your time, for the energy, the wisdom.
Of course.
And this is Invest in Scale. Thank you.